Friend, how did we get to 2024? This is insane. I was walking with my friend a couple weeks ago, and she's my bestie, and we were taking our dogs for a walk. And I was just kind of doing what you always do with your best friend. I was just over elaborating on all the things that were going wrong in the business, or like how many pitfalls we had throughout the year. And she started laughing and she was like, well, you know what? This is kind of good that you've gone through these horrible situations so that you can share it with your community so they don't end up doing the same thing. And I was like, you know what? That's actually a good idea. So I was thinking about it, and then I was chatting with our VA, Kelly, and Kelly's like, you know what, Rachel, you really should do a 2023 year of quote unquote bloopers. Like, things that have gone wrong in 2023 with your teeth whitening business that you have had to learn how to pivot on, how to adjust, and then, of course, note things that, of course, were also good, but really focus on mistakes and lessons that I have learned throughout 2023 as a teeth entrepreneur that has been insightful and ultimately has led to more growth. So, friend, let's dive in to Rachel's 2023 teeth whitening business bloopers. If you are a teeth whitening or tooth gem specialist, this is the podcast for you. My name's Rach, and I am the industry leader of all things teeth entrepreneurship. Together, let's learn from real-life experiences to must-have brands on how to take your business to the next level and leave that 9-to-5. Friend, welcome to Whitening Wednesday, and I'm so glad you are here. Let's build a safe industry together. The biggest takeaway I believe I had of 2023 was paying attention to your audience. And I would really encourage any teeth whitening tech to do this. For example, when we really noticed that mobile was a great idea for our local market and that it was picking up so well, then that would have been a really good indicator that maybe we should have went more mobile than storefront for our specific geographic location. So huge takeaway and tip to lead into for 2024 would be pay attention to your geographic location. What a fellow tech in another city or even another province, another country, their situation is going to be very different than yours. So your business models cannot necessarily be the same and both do well. Being really aware of your geographical location is going to what sets you aside from failure or growth. It's the new year, and I don't know about you, but I feel like I always like to burn everything down and start fresh every new year. Whether that's a good thing or not, who knows? But friend, if you are offering teeth whitening and you're not using the Fern Whitening Supplies line, then this is the perfect time for you to get started. Start the new year with the best results that are safe, effective, and affordable. Check out Fern Whitening Supplies on all major platforms as well as online, and contact them for any questions as you dive into growing your business for 2024. Let's get on with the show. We should just dive into the juiciest part of 2023 because that actually was the beginning of 2023. So those of you who have followed along with us since the beginning, I started teeth whitening in my home in 2019. And then in 2021, I incorporated the business and took it to a commercial storefront. So we had the first ever teeth whitening studio in Eastern Canada. So we were a full-fledged teeth whitening only location. By the time we closed it, we had 3 full service rooms and we had about 4 whitening technicians on staff. So, I mean, we were a full-on teeth whitening studio. It was great. And I didn't realize we were struggling until it was too late. So let's kind of backtrack a bit. When I signed the lease for our commercial location, I was told by the real estate agent that there was going to be a lot of development around the area that we were signing the lease to. So if you're not familiar with Belleville, then let me paint a picture for you. Belleville is a very small city in Ontario, Canada, and the downtown core of Belleville is not your typical downtown core of most cities. Usually, downtown cores are really popular and well trafficked areas. But unfortunately, Belleville, for whatever reason, this area is not well trafficked and it doesn't get a lot of momentum. So typically that's why you can find cheaper rent rates downtown. Now, don't get me wrong, when I say cheaper, we were still paying about $2,000 a month in rent, but that's still a lot cheaper than, say, a large city. So that was what we signed into. And the only reason I decided to go downtown was because this real estate agent told me about all these closed properties that have been purchased and all of these big developments that were going to happen. And everything should have been up and rolling and fully reorganized and busy, profitable by like end of 2022, going into 2023. So we've waited out 2021. We definitely felt the effects of being downtown, but we definitely were getting traction for being a new business. And then going into 2022, we were still dealing with the leftovers of lockdown since we were locked down a lot in 2021. And then we had this one business that was beside us downtown in Belleville. And it was definitely the busiest location downtown Belleville. And it was just a couple doors down from us, which was really great. It was a really popular Mexican restaurant. And what was really, really helpful with this business is they would have a later crowd. And since we're a service-based business, that we would always be open. And then when their different patrons would be leaving their location, say at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, our lights would be on, they'd pop in, they'd chat with us, and we get quite a few bookings from that later night crowd. Plus, it was also a safety concern. All of our techs are young females, and we did just feel a lot more safe that there were people out and about downtown going to that restaurant. So what happened was in 2023, near the beginning of the year, there was a massive windstorm, and the windstorm took the roof off of the restaurant. So that means the restaurant had to close. They ended up moving to a different location elsewhere from downtown. But that means that one piece of traffic that was actually getting us some momentum in our crappy location was now gone. So here I am. I'm already stressed because I know that the crazy ad spend that we were doing was not being able to be kept up because we weren't getting any organic reach from our location. For example, you're going to hear on a podcast that we have coming out in a couple of weeks with Emma, who owns a teeth whitening location in Vancouver, Canada. And we talk about how much momentum she gets from her signage because she's in a great, well-trafficked area and she has a huge sign that gets so much attention because she gets a lot of citizens driving by her location. So that's kind of reverse for us. We're not getting any of that organic reach on top of our ad spend because we're just in a location that's not getting trafficked. So this was a flag that was starting to catch up with us on top of COVID. So I was kind of playing around with the idea of, okay, this location is not for us. It's not the business model. I mean, I can prove that whitening is a great business model, but what's not a great business model is being in a physical location that's not benefiting you in any way. So I started to really get an idea that, okay, we need to kind of play around with some different options here. So I started doing some pop-ups. I got the girls to go out and we made some connections with local dental offices and Medi spas to do some pop-ups. So with Medi spas, it was very public. We made it very apparent that it was you whitening at these locations. But with dental offices, we did it very privately. You wouldn't know that you whitening was at these dental offices. We just went in kind of incognito as part of their staff for the day. But our techs and us were the ones getting the pay. So we can talk about how to do that. Great business model. But anyway, we were noticing really good traction with these mobile pop-up options. So we were doing this on top of our physical location. So this was around Christmas of 2022. We started kind of playing around with this idea of extending out the text to different areas since our downtown physical location was not getting as much traffic as we needed. So this is all happening and something really random happens. A old friend, like you could say acquaintance, who is a tattoo artist who I've worked with in the past personally, she came into the studio and bought a gift card for her husband. And she was talking about how she was about to sign a lease to a downtown location for her and her husband because they're both tattoo artists and they are booked out 6 months in advance. Apparently, tattooing is the service to get into. And they were about to sign into a lease downtown, but it really wasn't the vibe she was looking for. The space was really small, but she just couldn't find another location. And I just kind of mentioned to her, well, you know what? Like our space would be really great for you. We have the separate rooms already built out, etc. But I mean, our lease is about to come up because I only signed a short one to begin with. And I'm thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it. And she looked at me and she said, Rachel, if you could give me this space in 30 days, I would get you out of your lease even quicker. And talk about stress. I had less than 24 hours to figure out if I wanted to close our first studio location. So that was very interesting to be in. It was so much dread of like, oh my gosh, like, what are people going to think that, I failed? I wasn't able to keep open a location that I opened. But really at the end of the day, and like when I chatted with my bookkeeper and our accountant and just different financial advisors here, they're like, Rachel, like the business model is not the issue. It's your location. So don't stress yourself out. You, no word of a lie, did make a really bad investment in this location, but it's not your business. Your business is not the issue. So I decided to close the location. So we had less than 30 days to wrap everything up and also cry away all that money because we invested over $30,000 into that space by the time we put up the walls, bought up all the equipment, the decor, all the things. So like we did sink a lot of money into that location. And that was also a hard pill to swallow. So when we decided to move out, I was at least very thankful that I had already tried out the mobile model. The pop-up model is what I call it, and it did well. So at least I knew we weren't closing. We were just pivoting our way of seeing clients. So right off the hop, jump into 2023, we close up the location and we're going full in on mobile. Now, behind the scenes of all this, we are starting to work more and more in education and products. So again, if you're not familiar, when I launched the commercial space in 2021, prior to that, from 2019 to 2021, I was working with a variety of different products. I've probably tried every single brand that you're working with right now. And I was beyond frustrated. I could not find a product that I actually enjoyed or gave me the results of, I don't even want to say results chairside because as we know, results take time. But I'm talking about like almost like the results for the provider in the sense of how easy is it to work with? How much does it take to use for like one patient? Like, can you get a lot of cost value out of one syringe, etc.? That really does depend on textures. So Throughout that time from 2019 to 2021, we were working on our own formulation. So we did end up teaming up with a lab in Ontario, Canada that produced different variations of gels. They are no longer open to other locations. We are very, very fortunate that we got in right before they closed off their wholesale accounts. We built a formulation with them. We pretty much took their base model formula and we made some tweaks to it. So we chatted with the chemist. We got the understanding on what made sense of why they made it their way. But we brought our input to the table about viscosity and also sensitivity. Their sensitivity wasn't bad, mind you, but there were a couple tweaks that we made to really ensure that sensitivity, that extra dehydration, was very, very minimal. So long story short, when we launched into the commercial storefront in 2021, we were full on our own product line. Like we were getting our gels made in batches directly from the lab. So we're not working with anyone else's product line at this point. And this is really unique to us. And without even really advertising it, like it's not like we talked about this because your straight to consumer clients wouldn't get that. Our DMs and emails got flooded from fellow dental professionals, beauty professionals, medical professionals. Everyone wanted to know where we were getting our products. They were loving our before and afters. They were loving our branding. And they also were just so intrigued by this being the first standalone teeth whitening business in Eastern Canada that we were just getting all the questions. So probably around like that 2021 area, we kind of thought about education, did it a bit, but we didn't really branch out into our full education until like the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. We did a couple in-person things here and there, but if you were some of the select few that we actually sold our product to, you were purchasing it through Whitening. So come 2023, we decided to branch off from like Whitening into our own product line. So this is mistake number 2. So first mistake of 2023 is location. Please, please, please do your research on your location before you invest time and money into a space. And number 2 mistake here was name branding. So Whitening, it's doing great. It's tracking and it is a standalone business. It's easy to find on Google. What I did with our product brand, so I didn't want to sell our product line to professionals through Whitening. Why? Because I truly do not believe in this model. I feel like if you are selling products and education to providers, you should not be mixing that in with your straight client market. Why? Because why should your client know that you only pay $20 for a syringe, but you're charging them $220? I'm sure you get where I'm going here is I just don't think it's a clean or smart business model to have a B2B and B2C model mixed into one. I truly believe they need to be separate. And that's why when we decided to actually start selling our products more expansively, then I wanted it to be a separate name brand and page, etc. than Whitening, because I did not want our straight to consumer clients to see our product line for our text. So that being said, I chose the name Professional Whitening Products. So hashtag PWP, Professional Whitening Products. I thought this was such a great idea because that's exactly what they are. They're professional whitening products. But little did I learn that actually that was a horrible idea, because professional whitening products, if you were to go type that into Google right now, you're going to get Crest, you're going to get Oral-B, you're going to get Zoom, you're going to get these massive, massive name brands that have been around for years, practically dinosaurs. And that means that they are paying and tracking so well with your keywords, you will never, ever, ever be able to track at the top of Google. And that's a huge red flag. So we ran with this name for quite a few months, and then we went to an SEO team and they're like, no, you need to change your name. So then eventually we branded out to Fern. But mistake number 2, name your business smartly and intelligently for the new age. Don't use common words only. So here's kind of an example of what the SEO company told us. Have a unique name that is so random that you're going to chart automatically because no one else has that name, but then also tie it into your niche at the same time. So, for example, we went with Fern for our wholesale line because Fern is a plant. Like, what other teeth whitening company would be naming their business after a plant? It's very unique, it's very random. So, we went with Fern Whitening Supplies. So, we have that unique part of our name, but then we have our niche market, which is whitening supplies. So, that's a mistake I made was PWP, horrible name. So think about your name right now. Don't be afraid to change your name. Super easy to do, but make sure that it has the potential to track the best and that won't get confused with other names. You want to really stand out in a competitive market. So that was mistake number 2 is I named our wholesale line an awful name. So here we are, 2 major mistakes for 2023. Rach is doing really great here. So then comes our most, I want to say, regrettable mistake because this one really could have been avoided. But at the same time, it was the most sneaky mistake. So I worked with a company. If you've followed along, you've probably seen different episodes that we've done with them. We've had their team on the podcast. We would shout out their account all the time. It was an SEO company. And I felt like I really got to know this company and really felt comfortable with the owner. They were in the United States, so completely different to where we are. So I took my due diligence. I didn't jump into a contract right away. I took 6+ months to get to know the company and the brand. And I thought that we would do really well together. So in July of 2023, I signed a contract worth $3,200. And it was supposed to be a 9 to 12 week contract, but the website really focused that it would be about 4 to 6 weeks. So our whole goal was to get our SEO tracking starting July so that we could explode for Christmas 2023. If you're not familiar with SEO, so search engine optimization, it is the ultimate piece of the puzzle. I know Ida Home Smiles, if you listen to episode 2, we really talked about SEO there, but I'm going to mention it again here. You have to have SEO if you want a real business, okay? If you want a business to actually be a full-fledged occupation career, then you need SEO because if someone goes to type in teeth whitening, and you're not tracking on search engines, then you're never going to get booked. So search engine optimization, huge. So we were doing SEO. We had signed this $3,200 contract for Fern. I'll go back to it. But at this point, whitening, we're kind of falling off with just because our full love and attention has really ended up at this point to be education and products. So I signed this contract and we get going. Things are great. Everything's going fine. And then, the weeks go by. We're at like the 4-week mark. Nothing's been done. We get the first round of copy back. It's completely wrong. It has nothing to do with anything that we were even about. Like it was keyword research for funerals and weddings, which have nothing to do with Fern. So, okay, I'm starting to get a little frustrated and a little concerned. I get told this story of why that happened. Anyways, we're back on track. We're leading up to about the 12-week mark. Project still not finished. I get this response. Finally, we got ghosted for a while. Then we're going to get a month of free retention because they know how badly they've messed up. Like, okay, but can you just finish our original project? That'd be great. So then we get completely ghosted for over a month. Guys, I've paid $3,200 Canadian and this company has ghosted us project's not finished. The parts of it that have been completed aren't even doing well at all. They're not like cohesive. It's not doing anything. We're way over time at this point. So that means that even if the SEO was done properly, there's no way we're tracking for Christmas 2023. So here I've made this business investment and we're not getting any return here. We are literally just out money. So this company literally ignores all of our DMs, all of our emails for over a month. It was like 6 weeks. We finally get a response because probably about 4 weeks of being ghosted, I asked for a refund. I asked for half of a refund. I said, okay, I get you've done some work here, but this is ridiculous. You need to at least give us half of our money back. So I get told we're going to get half of a refund. We get half of a refund. And then we got a quote from a different SEO company and they put us into an SEO tracker. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll link it because I think it would be really handy for you to even track your own website on. But it's practically like an extension that you can put in. You have to pay for it, but it can show you how well you track for different keywords, exactly where you rank on webs, like on the search engine, etc. This is what a lot of SEO companies work with to see how you're tracking. So we got our website tracked to kind of see how it was doing and exactly how little this company did. And we were ranking horribly. We had under 5 backlinks. Our keywords were like on page 8 and over. Like we were doing horrible. It's like they did nothing. So at that point, as soon as I mentioned that we had put our outcome into that database and we saw how bad we were tracking, all of a sudden now they're willing to give us a full return because they know how badly they have done their job. So what's my mistake here? My mistake here is I feel like I almost got catfished, which is another great example of don't put your trust in an Instagram page. We talk about this a lot for teeth whitening and tooth gem educators. The following account means nothing. The amount of you that pop into my DMs all the time saying that you've taken a training from X, Y, and Z. And if you go to their Instagram pages, they have like 60,000 plus followers. And you hear about their awful experience or how they've literally learned nothing. It shows you that following account means nothing. So my mistake here is I bought into a very curated Instagram page. It seemed very fun, seemed very approachable. But I thought I really did my due diligence from working out that 6-month connection prior to. So there, I don't really know how you would get around that because like, I feel like 6 months should easily be more than enough time to tell if the person's a fraud or not. So I don't have any advice on that one. But the third one that I think is very interesting and something that I didn't really pay attention to until now is this company didn't provide a phone number anywhere. So you will notice with more and more digital aged companies, phone numbers are no longer apparent. Usually contact is only by email or through different platforms like Slack, ClickUp, etc. So you're going to find that phone numbers, something so little, is a huge flag that I'm now starting to notice. I, moving forward, would never work with a company that doesn't provide a phone number. I think that's huge because over those 6+ weeks when we were getting ghosted, like there wasn't even a phone number I could contact. So I think that's massive as well. So there are the majority of my bloopers. The last blooper I'm going to kind of sneak in as a little nugget for you whitening is, so once we closed down the studio, we did go mobile and it was going really well, but there are some bloopers that mistakes I made and I know that I need to address if we decide to go down that route again is contracts. So what would happen is we would do these pop-ups with either dental offices or mediclinics. And we went to multiple different cities. We went up to about 3 hours away. I would just hire different dental assistants in these different areas. And what ended up happening were contracts on both ends. So on my end, I got screwed over by a lot of the techs that we hired. Quite a few of the techs would get like their startup package, like their light, etc., and they would just ghost us. So there's quite a few techs kicking around out there with free product from you Whitening because we send it all to them because they were our mobile techs, and then they would do a couple of shifts and then peace out. So that was one thing I learned again is not to, I don't even know how to get around that. I guess I should have made them put down a deposit or something there. But yep, we got screwed over by a lot of technicians that we were paying this year. So that was fun. But again, maybe that could have been a contract thing. But another thing on the flip side is we did also get screwed over by some of the pop-up locations. So this is really important. I would say if you're considering a pop-up model for 2024, is you have to be very due diligent with your contracts. I felt like a lot of our locations didn't take us very seriously and didn't promote us very well. We personally were doing 50-50 splits, and I just felt like a lot of our pop-up locations were not doing 50% of the work. So some locations did get us booked up really well. And you know what's funny is, again, one of our busiest pop-up locations was a location that does not have a great social feed, like at all. Their clientele is very just loyal to them. It's not a social push. So that was interesting. I actually found some of the locations that had the quote unquote bigger or better Instagram or TikTok following were actually the locations that had the least amount of clients booking. So interesting. That being said, back to the contract, we did get screwed over a few times with our locations not having the rooms ready when our techs would get there. I remember this one time our one tech literally showed up to the pop-up day, and in our contract, the location had to let the tech in 30 minutes before the first appointment and stay into the room 30 minutes after the last appointment for tear down, setup, etc. And I got a call one morning from one of our techs who had been standing outside for 15 minutes and was standing with their first client. So literally like standing there, the client's 15 minutes early, the location still isn't open. She's standing with their first client. So awkward. She felt so bad because she obviously didn't have keys. So that was definitely some mistakes that we learned with the pop-up model, was choosing locations that actually were going to put in the effort to get you clients. Because I mean, yes, I get we're using their space, but if we're making you 50% of our revenue and you don't have to do anything but offer us space and promote us to your existing client list, I think that's a pretty good gig. So we need to really figure out how to make those contracts more secure. I've definitely had some long talks with different locations and talked with different locations. So we definitely have an idea on how to do it a little bit more cohesive now. But yes, we definitely went through some bumps over 2023. So I hope this long rant taught you a couple things. First things first is, yes, you don't know until you try. So I would never use, for example, my experience as a defined yes or no for your potential experiences. These are just different things that have happened to us. And again, depending on your geographic location, etc., your outcome might be a little bit different. But these are my mistakes for 2023 that I hope has been helpful for you to not make in 2024. So round up. First mistake, choose a location for your business wisely. You need organic growth. It has to be well trafficked, and you have to be easy to access, find, and you also have to feel safe. I didn't mention a few of our techs had a few bad incidences with people coming in, giving them a really hard time from off the street. So again, you have to be in a location that your whole team also feels safe in. Number 2 is you have to make sure you name your business smartly, okay? Don't go off of trends. Pick something unique, but also tie it to your niche. That third mistake is make sure that if you're going to make an investment for a service like SEO, do more research, as much research as possible. Try to pick a company that you know of that's already done a good job for somebody that you know. So, look for people that you know who have used this company. That would have definitely saved me a lot of mistakes with our SEO hiccup. And also make sure the company has a phone number. That's important. And the last piece of mistake advice I have for you is if you are doing the pop-up model for 2024, make sure you have some very in-depth contracts that both you and the provider, so the location space, know exactly what's expected of each of you. And if that's not met, what are the repercussions? Also, if you do decide to hire staff, make sure you figure out how you get your equipment back if they decide to not work for you anymore, so you don't get ghosted and lose money. So 2023 Rach lost a lot of money for sure, but don't get me wrong. 2023 was definitely a year of growth for us. And I wouldn't have been able to make the decisions that I needed to make if these hiccups didn't happen. So I'm going to leave you on the note of what exactly has happened with you whitening. I know lots of you always ask. And at this time, we have decided to go fully in on fern whitening supplies and Mentorrach. We do have some fun new things coming for 2024, but they are not going to be in the straight consumer world. I have personally realized that straight consumer for me is not the business model I want to go forward with. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing clients smile, but there is just something about education and products that just lights me up a lot more. So I have vowed that we are going to close U Whitening straight to consumer and go full in on fern whitening supplies and Mentorrach. Now, a lot of you are probably confused or like, well, why? Like, you were doing straight to consumer. I thought it was going so well. And don't get me wrong, straight to consumer is a great business plan, but your heart has to be in it. And I feel like we can do much more of a service with our product line and our education to fellow providers than to just us holding that client marketplace with straight to consumer. Plus, I strongly believe that if you are an educator or a product provider, you should not also be straight to consumer. I don't think that's fair or a smart move to be trying to sell to your providers, but then also take their clients if they are in your area. So I don't like that business model. I don't think it is very clean. I also don't think it's very profitable in the long run because it's like you're not choosing a lane. You got to choose the lane. You got to go all in on one area. And I just feel like if you are providing services, but then you're also trying to do education and seeing clients, it's messy. You're not on the right track in the sense of you're not able to focus. Lots of very financial successful people say you have to be focused. You can't have your hat in multiple, what's that saying? You can't have like too many peas in the pod. So do your due diligence. If you are say in that situation, maybe you should really think about which one is what you want to go all in on to be super successful in one area. So we have officially left the straight to consumer market, and we are so excited to stay business to business in the B2B space. We can't wait to be leaders here, and we couldn't be here without you. So if you have joined us along 2023 at some point into the Fern or Mentorrach realm, thank you so much. We would not be here without you, and I hope my mistakes give you great insight and tips on how to avoid fallbacks and to move your business forward like a rocket ship for 2024. So friend, thank you so much for being here again. And don't forget to share. If you're loving this podcast, share it throughout your socials. Tag fellow techs so they can also get the resources that we provide. And we will see you and chat with you soon for another episode of Whitening Wednesday.